We are told that we should be kind, that we should put others first, help without hesitation, and always say yes. But does anyone ever tell you what it really costs to live that way? We live in a world where giving doesn't always come back, where kindness isn't always returned, and sometimes it's punished. Have you ever wondered why the more you give, the more invisible you feel? Why the people you help most are the ones who disappear when you need them the most? The truth is, being too kind, without boundaries, without balance, can quietly ruin your peace, your purpose, even your identity. The Stoics understood this long ago. They didn't teach us to become cold, they taught us to become wise, to act with virtue but not attachment, to help but not at the cost of our own soul. So in this video, we're diving into the 8 hidden ways being too nice can actually hurt you, and more importantly, how to shift from people-pleasing to powerful, from drained to disciplined. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about becoming sovereign. And if you're on a journey to reclaim your time, your strength, and your inner calm, please subscribe. For you, because every step toward wisdom is a step toward freedom. 1. You'll have unrealistic expectations of others. We all want to help others. It's natural to want to give and be there for the people we care about. But sometimes, in the process of giving, we set ourselves up for frustration. It's easy to slip into the belief that if we give enough of ourselves, our time, our energy, our support, others will naturally return the favor. We start to expect that the same effort and care we pour out will be mirrored back to us. But here's the reality check. People aren't always aware of your needs. They don't always know how much you're sacrificing, and unfortunately, most of the time, they don't give back as you might hope. This isn't because people are necessarily bad, but simply because they are focused on their own lives, their own struggles, and their own needs. When we give too much, we often set ourselves up for disappointment. It's easy to feel let down when others don't match your level of giving. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, remind us that the only control we truly have is over ourselves, how we react to situations, how we view others, and how we handle our expectations. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, Marcus wrote. This can be applied to kindness and generosity. The Stoic ideal isn't about expecting something in return for your actions, but about acting out of virtue and duty, without the need for external validation. When you expect too much from others, you're setting yourself up for disappointment because you're tethering your emotional well-being to the actions of others. Instead, practice emotional detachment. Let go of the idea that others must act a certain way for you to feel fulfilled. Accept people for who they are and give with no expectation of reciprocity. By doing so, you'll not only avoid frustration, but you'll also find a more sustainable, peaceful way to help others. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is key when it comes to balancing kindness with self-care. In your pursuit of helping others, you must not lose sight of who you are and what you need." If you're constantly giving to others and yet neglecting your own emotional health, it can lead to burnout. To help others effectively, you first have to make sure that you are in a place where you can give without depleting yourself. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Without it, you're just offering an empty cup to others. To be the best version of yourself for others, you must fill your own cup first. You can't give what you don't have. This is why taking time for yourself, setting boundaries, and practicing emotional detachment are so important. Another key point to remember is that kindness is not about being a martyr, it's about balance. Giving too much can make you feel like you're being taken for granted, and eventually that leads to resentment. That's where boundaries come in. Boundaries are like the lines on a map. They keep you on track and ensure that you don't lose yourself in the process of helping others. The Stoics weren't afraid to set boundaries. Epictetus, for instance, emphasized the importance of setting clear, practical limits on what we give to others. If you want to help others, you need to help yourself first. If you constantly ignore your own needs for the sake of others, you'll find yourself depleted, irritable, and disconnected from your own life. The Stoics would tell you that this is not a healthy or sustainable way to live. Psychologically, when we expect too much from others, it's often because we're not being honest with ourselves about our own emotional needs. We are projecting our unspoken desires onto others, hoping they will fulfill them. This can lead to feelings of frustration when those expectations aren't met. We're setting up an illusion that others must come through for us, and when they don't, we feel hurt, betrayed, or neglected. The key here is to be honest with yourself and recognize that you are the one responsible for your emotional well-being. You must learn to meet your own needs before you can effectively meet others. As Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Part of this acceptance is recognizing when you need help and when you need to stand strong on your own. You can't expect people to fill a void that only you can address. Learning to manage your expectations of others is an empowering practice. It shifts the focus from relying on external validation to finding peace within yourself. If you constantly expect others to make you happy, you'll never find true happiness because happiness is always out of your control. The Stoics believed that joy and peace come from within, not from external sources. In fact, the Stoics advised against depending on others for happiness. Instead, you should focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your emotional responses. By practicing emotional detachment and focusing on what's in your control, you'll find that you can give without expectations and still feel fulfilled. This is a profound form of freedom, one that the Stoics embraced deeply. So, next time you feel frustrated because someone hasn't reciprocated your kindness, remember, it's not about what others do, it's about how you respond to it. Adjust your expectations, focus on your own growth, and give without expecting anything in return. This will not only protect you from unnecessary emotional distress, but it will also allow you to help others in a way that is truly sustainable. As you continue to develop this practice, you'll find that your relationships become healthier, your sense of self stronger, and your emotional well-being more grounded. By giving to others without strings attached, you'll discover that the real gift is in the giving itself and in the freedom it brings. 2. People will start taking you for granted. Have you ever found yourself constantly being the go-to person for everyone around you? You're always there when someone needs help, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a colleague. It feels good at first, right? You feel like you're making a difference, like you're the one people can count on. But here's the thing, the more you help, the more people start to expect it. At first, they might appreciate it, but eventually, it becomes normal. They start to take your kindness for granted. You give so much of yourself, and at some point, you might even feel like they owe you. But guess what? That feeling doesn't last. People don't always see your effort for what it is. Instead, they start to expect it from you. And before you know it, your efforts are no longer special, just expected. This is where the real danger lies. When you keep giving and giving without setting any boundaries, it's easy to lose yourself in the process. People become accustomed to you being there to pick up the slack, to handle the difficult situations, and to solve their problems. They start to take more and more without thinking about how much you're actually giving. And here's the kicker. You'll feel used. You'll feel like you've poured everything you've got into helping others, and they're still coming back for more. This pattern, if left unchecked, can leave you drained, resentful, and ultimately empty. The Stoics had a word for this: moderation. They believed in balance. Giving is great, but only if it doesn't come at the cost of your own well-being. Moderation is key. You can help others, but you also need to protect your own boundaries and ensure that you don't lose yourself in the process. When you constantly give without setting limits, you end up becoming the person who others rely on without offering much in return. You might start to feel like you don't even know who you are anymore. You lose your sense of self as you give so much to others. Helping others should never come at the cost of losing yourself. Epictetus emphasized that we cannot control others' actions, but we can control how we respond to them. In the same way, we have control over how much we choose to give. By setting boundaries, we protect our sense of identity and ensure that we are not taken for granted. When people stop appreciating what you're doing for them, it's because they've become too comfortable. They don't realize the effort you put in. They just expect it. It's like when someone borrows your car all the time without saying thank you. They expect you to keep offering it. But when the time comes for you to ask for something in return, suddenly they're too busy or don't have time. This isn't just frustrating. It can lead to feelings of bitterness and resentment. You've probably been there before, thinking, "I've helped them 1,000 times, but when I need something, where are they?" And that's the problem with expecting others to always reciprocate. They might not even know what you need, or they might not realize that you've given more than you can handle. That's why it's crucial to start setting clear expectations and boundaries. This is where the Stoic idea of emotional detachment comes into play. The Stoics taught that we should never place our emotional well-being in the hands of others. By doing so, we lose control over our own happiness. Instead, we should focus on what we can control: our own actions, responses, and boundaries. If you don't start setting limits, you risk becoming a doormat, constantly giving without receiving. It's essential to recognize that giving should not deplete you. In fact, it should come from a place of abundance, not from a sense of obligation. You should never give to the point where you have nothing left for yourself. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to take a step back and make sure your needs are being met too. As we give to others, it's easy to slip into the habit of expecting them to show the same level of care. But as Seneca pointed out, he who is brave is free. And part of being brave is recognizing when you're being taken for granted. It's about having the courage to set boundaries, to say no when necessary, and to take care of yourself without guilt. There's nothing wrong with taking a break from being everyone's problem solver. In fact, by doing so, you actually improve your ability to help others in the long run. Giving becomes a choice, not an obligation, and that's where true fulfillment comes from. You can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. People might get used to your kindness, but that doesn't mean you have to allow it. You are not obligated to sacrifice yourself for others' comfort. There's a difference between helping and overextending yourself. By practicing Stoic principles like moderation, self-discipline, and detachment, you can find a balance where you give freely, but never at the cost of your own peace. Remember, kindness is a virtue, but without boundaries it can quickly turn into a burden. The real power lies in knowing when to step back, knowing when to say no, and understanding that your needs are just as important as those of the people you're helping. In the end, helping others is not about being a martyr, but about finding a healthy balance that allows you to continue giving without losing yourself. So take a step back, set those boundaries. Don't let your kindness become something that people take for granted. And most importantly, remember that your value doesn't come from how much you give to others. It comes from knowing who you are and maintaining respect for yourself. 3. Your own goals will get lost in the shuffle. How many times have you found yourself stuck in the middle of someone else's problems, forgetting about your own plans and goals? It's easy to get caught up in helping others, especially when you care about them. You might think that by giving so much of your time and energy to others, you're being selfless and noble. But here's the reality check. When you prioritize everyone else's needs, you stop making your own a priority. Over time, this pattern takes a toll on your own dreams, and before you know it, your personal goals are nowhere to be found. It's like putting your life on pause while everyone else's movie keeps playing, and that's a trap many of us fall into. The truth is, you might feel good in the moment by being there for others, but deep down, you know you're putting your own aspirations on the back burner. We've all done it. Cancelled plans, put off projects, or delayed pursuing something important to us because someone else needed help. It's a dangerous habit because it's easy to justify. You tell yourself, I'll get to my stuff later. Right now they need me. And sure, helping others is important, but you can't continually put your own goals on hold without losing a part of yourself. The Stoics, like Seneca, believe that we must balance our obligations. You can help others, but you must also help yourself by setting boundaries. Seneca put it bluntly, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." When you give up your time to everyone else, you're wasting your time, and with it, your chance to achieve your own personal goals. There's a certain irony in this. You might think you're being selfless, but in reality, you're avoiding something deeper. Think about it for a second. What is it that you're not facing by helping everyone else? Often, we focus on other people's needs because it feels easier than confronting our own fears, insecurities, or the tough work of chasing our dreams. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's what happens when we avoid our own goals. We're afraid of facing the uncomfortable truths about our own desires and challenges. But when you constantly put others first, you end up sidelining your own aspirations, and before you know it, your own life starts to feel out of your control. Here's something important to remember. Your goals and dreams matter just as much as anyone else's. The Stoic philosophers understood the importance of self-discipline and inner balance. They didn't believe in running after every demand made on them because they knew that a lack of focus on one's own purpose leads to frustration and loss of direction. You're allowed to say no to others in order to prioritize your own dreams. Helping others doesn't have to come at the expense of your own goals, but it's easy to lose sight of that balance if you're not careful. Think of your goals as a compass that helps guide you through life. If you keep putting it down to help others, you'll find yourself drifting aimlessly without any sense of direction. Jung also spoke about the importance of integrating different aspects of ourselves to live fully. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This applies to your goals too. If you keep ignoring your own dreams, you're essentially letting them sit in your unconscious. They'll keep bubbling up, demanding attention, until eventually they can't be ignored anymore. And if you've been putting them off for too long, it might feel like an avalanche. The point is, the longer you suppress your goals, the harder it will be to face them later on. You have to give yourself permission to prioritize your own goals. It's not selfish, it's necessary. By focusing on your own path, you not only achieve your own success, but you also improve your ability to help others. After all, you can't give from an empty cup. By putting your own life first and setting those boundaries, you become a better version of yourself, one that can contribute to others without feeling drained or resentful. You'll feel more grounded, more fulfilled, and more at peace with yourself. The Stoics believed that a clear mind and a focused heart were the keys to a life of virtue and success. By making sure your own goals are front and center, you give yourself the opportunity to live with intention and purpose. So how do you stop losing your goals in the shuffle? The first step is simple. Start saying no when you need to. Say no to the requests that aren't aligned with your personal goals. Say no to the constant demands that keep pulling you away from your own dreams. It might feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel guilty, but that's just your old habits trying to hold on. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." You don't need to be everything to everyone. By saying no, you are clearing the space for yourself to say yes to what truly matters. The next step is to take action on your goals, even if it's just a small step every day. Write down your dreams, plan them out, and start working on them bit by bit. It doesn't matter how small the steps are. What matters is that you're moving forward. The Stoics believed in the power of consistent, small actions. "What we do now echoes in eternity," said Marcus Aurelius. "Every action, no matter how small, is a step towards fulfilling your true purpose." Don't let the needs of others constantly derail you from your own track. You have every right to pursue your dreams and goals. They are yours to achieve. In the end, the most important thing is to remember that your life matters, your goals matter, and by putting yourself first, you will be in a much better position to help others, not because you're sacrificing your happiness, but because you're thriving. By achieving your own goals, you'll find that you have more to give and a clearer sense of purpose to share with the world. So, stop losing your goals in the shuffle of other people's lives. It's time to take charge of your own journey. 4. People will think you're weak. We've all been there, being the person who's always there for others, always saying yes, always offering a helping hand. It feels good, doesn't it? You want to be helpful, kind, and supportive, but here's the reality. Kindness doesn't always get the respect it deserves. In fact, sometimes people see it as a weakness. They start to take advantage of you, assuming you'll always be there, that you'll always help out, and that you'll always say yes. It's like being the go-to person in the group. People come to you when they need something, but when it's your turn to ask for help, they're nowhere to be found. It's frustrating, and honestly, it's draining. And here's the kicker. The more you give, the more people expect. The Stoics understood this dynamic better than most. They didn't teach us to give without thinking. Giving isn't about saying yes to everything and everyone. The Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus emphasized the importance of setting limits, knowing when to say no and when to step back. They understood that true strength doesn't lie in constantly serving others or pleasing everyone around you. It lies in having the courage to stand firm, to know your worth, and to be able to say no when necessary. Respect doesn't come from people-pleasing. It comes from self-respect. If you keep saying yes to everything, people will only start to see you as someone they can push around, not someone they can truly respect. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. By setting boundaries and standing your ground, you take control of your own life, and in turn, you earn respect. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I don't want to be seen as rude or harsh. And that's fair. You don't have to be harsh. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being mean or dismissive. It simply means protecting your own well-being. It means recognizing that you're allowed to prioritize your own needs without feeling guilty. You don't have to drop everything to please others, and you don't have to say yes to everything just to be liked. As Carl Jung wisely put it, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When you stop trying to please everyone around you, you start to discover who you really are and what you truly want. Saying no can actually empower you. It can help you stand tall, draw a clear line, and show others that you value yourself enough to protect your time and energy. This is the kind of strength that people respect. The problem with being overly kind and always available is that it often leaves you feeling like a doormat. You're constantly giving, constantly helping, but in return, you feel drained, unappreciated, and sometimes even resentful. The Stoics warned against this kind of self-sacrifice without purpose. They believed in giving out of a place of inner strength, not out of obligation or fear